Hey guys, and welcome to Escape Wheel Watch Reviews. My name is Steve, and today we're looking at a new release again from Pagani Design, the PD1717. This watch is an homage to the Longines Spirit. So this watch was sent to me by the Pagani Design AliExpress official store. I do not have to send it back, but as always, that's not going to affect my review one way or another. The retail price for this watch is $150, but you can use code ESCAPEWHEEL, I'll put that over here, for $15 off your purchase, and they told me that's a stackable coupon with any other coupons that the store is offering. I think currently there's like a $10 off coupon, so you can get $25 off of this watch right now, I think. So go check that out. I'm not sure how long that code is good for, but the store told me it will also work on version 2 of this watch, which is going to adjust the length of these hands, and that's already in the works. Should be completed by the end of April is what they were telling me. So yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit more during the dial and hand section, so yeah, stay tuned. So what does your money get you? It gets you a 38mm 316L stainless steel case, bracelet and clasp, a screw down crown, screw down case back, 200 meters of water resistance, sapphire crystal, and a Seiko NH35 powering it all. So again, lots of bang for your buck, especially, you know, Pagani, they do great things with the specs for your money, and this is no exception. Let's dig in and see if it warrants the price. Before we do that, I'm going to do a wrist check today wearing the Fleeta Black Bay 36 homage. I will leave the review link for that right up here. Okay, so dimensions on this. Listed as a 38mm watch, 38.1 diameter, 13.1mm thick, 20mm lug width. Bracelet tapers down to 18 at the clasp, lug to lug of 44.8. And as you can see here, the end links do protrude just a little bit. So the overall end link to end link length is 46.6 millimeters. So it is still a pretty compact watch, you know, under 45 lug to lug, 46 lug to lug. That's a pretty good size, 38 millimeters. It's right at my sweet spot. I do really like it. And you can see there is a little bit of curvature to the lugs here, so that's nice to see. And I mean, yeah, it wears pretty good. I'm gonna go outside right now, throw it on some straps for you. Here we are on my 7.5 inch wrist, and as you can see, I mean, this size I think is just, I love it. For me personally, it's great. 38 millimeters, and you know, under 45 lug to lug is pretty much a sweet spot for me. You do have a decent amount of little curvature to the wrist there. You got lots of reflections going on the bracelet, all the way on the bezel and the chamfer. I think it looks really good. You can see that crystal's just reflecting like absolute crazy. It doesn't look as bad in real life as it does here, but it's definitely a little bit of an issue. But I haven't had any problems reading the time with it, so we'll talk about the crystal in a little bit. Getting in some direct sunlight here. As you can see there, really nice sunburst. Got a nice dark blue color. I mean, that sunburst color looks great. And yeah, like right there you can see that the crystal becomes a little bit of an issue. Yeah, it is a little bit hard to read in direct sunlight when it's like this, and you got lots of stuff around you, like, you know, it's picking up the trees and the reflections there and all that stuff. And again, it doesn't look as bad in person, but it's definitely a little bit of an issue, so just keep that in mind. I'm going to go throw this on some straps. Sorry about the wind. But yeah, I'll go throw this on some straps and we'll get back to the review. Here we are on a Milanese, which is lifted off of my Seagull. I think it actually looks pretty good. I don't hate it. Usually I'm not a big fan of these straps, and I usually only put them on for strap shows like this, just because I know some people like them. They're just not my thing, but yeah, I actually think that looks pretty good. I'm gonna go throw it on some leather, some Natos, and we'll get back to the review. We are on a dark blue silicone strap. This is from Seastern. I believe they do sell these separately. I'll leave a link down in the description for them. Yeah, this one actually looks pretty darn good, I gotta admit. And you know, 200 meters of water resistance, you're gonna be able to swim with this thing, so you might want a silicone strap on it from time to time. So yeah, I do really like it. What do you guys think? We are again out in some direct sunlight with the Vario vintage leather strap. Again, I'll leave the link for this one down below as well. Love this strap, and I think it looks excellent with that blue dial. Yeah, it looks really good. What do you guys think? Yeah, that looks great. All right, more watch straps. And here it is on the strap that came in the box with it. and I think it looks pretty decent. The blue is a little bit of a mismatch, but it is a very comfortable strap. Still sits pretty good, even with the one layer underneath it. Looks alright. I'm going to go throw it on a Nato, and we'll get back to it. And lastly, here we are on a brown ribbed Nato strap from Cheapest Nato Straps, and I think it looks pretty good. You got 2 layers under the watch there. It sits up a little high, but it's still very comfortable, and I think it does look pretty good still. It doesn't bring the watch up too much, and yeah, I think it's looks pretty good on this. Brown and blue has always been a favorite of mine, even though some people don't like it. I like it. What do you guys think? All right, let's go back inside and get back to this review. All right, so let's get real close. We'll talk about the case finishing. As you can see on the top of the case here, you have a circular brushing, which is done really, really nice. Let's see. There you go. That's a good view of it right there. Really nice, consistent brushing. I like it. Looks really good. You got a horizontal brushing down the sides here. Again, not quite as neat as the top, but it definitely, it looks good. And yeah, the transition, we got a polished chamfer that runs all the way across the case here. And the transitions on that are very, very sharp. Look how, we're getting real close here. And you can see that's pretty darn good. You see a little bit of those peaks and valleys that we kind of talk about, but overall, that's pretty impressive for the price. One of the better finished Pagani designs I've seen for sure. You have polishing on the end of the lugs there. You got a really nice screw down crown here. It's kind of got some shape to it. Nice Pagani design logo in it. Plenty of grip, good size. We'll talk about that in a little bit when we talk about the movement. The bezel on it, it's again circular brushing on the bottom part, polished on the top, and again, it just looks really good. They did a really good job finishing this case. I'm quite impressed with it. I don't see any of the soft lines that I typically see with Pagani, so yeah, pretty happy with the case finishing. The case back on this, very simple circular brushing case back. It's got the model number here, Pagani shield, Pagani design, and 20 bar with a little fish symbol on it. It's got the, I guess the Rolex style case back, which I'm not a big fan of. I wish they would just use the regular little notches for a tool, but yeah, it is what it is. I don't ever plan on opening this thing up. And then you got circular brushing on the bottom of the case here. This feels maybe a little bit sharp on these bottom edges here, but again, it's one of those things that feels sharp, but it hasn't really bothered me on wrist at all. So yeah, very impressed with the case finishing on this. All right, let's test for sapphire crystal real quick. And as you can see, it is testing positive for sapphire, which is not a surprise anymore. It's kind of what we expect from Pagani design. The crystal itself is probably my least favorite setup of a crystal, and that is it's flat on the bottom side, and then on the top it's just slightly domed. So you do get, like right here, you can see, so you see the thin line here of my studio light. And then you see how it kind of gets all washed out right there. That's just another reflection of that studio light. So you're getting double reflections, and it gets a little distracting. I'm not gonna lie. Taking pictures of this thing is a pain in the butt, and there's no, that I can see, there's no anti-reflective coating. If it is there, it's pretty minimal. But yeah, the advantage, I guess, to this type of crystal is that you get really nice distortion. Look at that. That looks really, really good. Very cool looking. There you can see the dome on the crystal. It's pretty minimal dome, but it is there. And I think overall the crystal looks pretty good. Most of the time, it's definitely not as bad as what's showing up on the camera, but it can be a distraction. I just want you guys to know that. I had a similar issue with the Pagani Speedmaster. That was kind of the same setup. Not quite as extreme as this one is, but yeah, it's just my least favorite type. They should either do a flat sapphire or do a double dome. That's just my opinion. So let's talk about the dial on this thing. As you can see here, we got a really nice dark blue sunburst color. This also comes in black, comes in a textured white dial, and then it comes in a green dial. And I think all of them look pretty darn good. I had a hard time choosing which one they were going to send me, but this one does look really, really nice. Really nice sunburst on it too. You guys probably saw that in the wrist shots. And yeah, I mean, it just looked great. I've got no complaints about the color on it. I think it doesn't have any of that purple tinge to it. And yeah, it looks really nice. Very subtle blue, but definitely blue. The applied indices on this thing are done really nicely. You can get real close to them here, as you can see. I mean, they look really good. They're all aligned nicely. I think they're perfectly sized, filled with lume, really good. Very bright white lume with bright white hands. I think it's going to be, once they adjust the hand size on this thing, which we'll talk about in just a second, this is going to be a very legible dial. The minute track on this thing, as you can see here, I'm going to try and show you. It is slightly raised. There you go. You can see it nicely there. So it is slightly raised off the dial there, and you got those little diamonds in there. It's straight from the Longines Spirit. I think that looks really, really good. You do have the Japan movement text down here. The font that they chose for this 20 bar 200 meter automatic, a little unusual, I think. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't look bad at all, in my opinion. Just not their typical font that they use. And then you've got just the shield only logo from the Pagani design. I think it looks great without the text underneath it. I know they've been asked to do that quite a bit, and it's nice to see that, you know, this store is finally listening to them. And you're going to see some more with just the shield only logo, I think, coming up pretty soon. So yeah, the dial itself is done really, really good. I like the depth of it, and the legibility of it is great, and I think they offered it in some sweet colors. Yeah, really, really cool colors in my opinion. So the hands on this. So yeah, these hands are quite a bit shorter than what they need to be. They can definitely extend those out. They say they might not be able to because of that raised chapter ring there, that they can't go all the way out to the end here, but they can get really, really close to it, and that's what they're going to do with version 2. So version 2 is already in the works. They say by the end of April 2022 that it'll be done, and I'm going to pop up what they are proposing for it right now, and here you can see, I mean, it's going to look a lot better. Definitely needs an extra couple millimeters on each of those hands, so nice to see that they're listening and they're acting quick, and they're making the changes that they need to make this a really good, really good watch. So yeah, I'm very happy with that. And like I mentioned earlier, all the numerals are filled with lume and all the hands are filled with lume. So I'm going to pop up a lume shot right now against some of the other similar watches in my collection. And you can see the numerals fade pretty much instantly. The hands are not far behind it. The lume on this watch is pretty bad. It's going back to Pagani's old lume, I would say. They've really stepped up their lume in the last year. But this is kind of back to their old lume. It's not great. But again, it's not a dive watch. I just wish they would do a little bit better on the lume. So let's talk about the movement in this thing. So the movement is operated by this 3 o'clock screw down crown. You get really nice smooth screw in and screw out action on the crown. Plenty of grip on the crown. Yeah, really nice signing there. Looks really good. It's a Seiko NH35. If you don't know it by now, it is a workhorse of a movement. It's cheap to replace if you ever need to. Easy to find mod parts for if you're into that. It hacks, it hand winds, it does everything you need it to do. 40 hours of power reserve, 6 ticks of the hand every second. Yeah, I mean, I've got nothing against it. And yeah, the only negative on this one is because there's no date window on this watch. There is a ghost date position, and yeah, that's the only real negative thing I can say about the movement. So yeah, it's great. Again, no complaints. All right, so let's talk about the bracelet on this thing. So this is a first for me. I don't think this bracelet is recycled from anything. So they made this bracelet specifically for this watch, and it's actually pretty decent. So you can see the end links here. They follow the curvature of the case pretty good. They do protrude ever so slightly from the case there. It's not a big deal. I'm not sure they could have cleaned that up and made this transition look good. So yeah, I'm happy with how they did that. You can see you got female pivot end links here. They're solid end links. You have solid links. You have push pins for adjusting, which I'm perfectly fine with. Got no issues with that. We got a new clasp from Pagani design, which we'll talk about in just a second. But overall, I think the bracelet is pretty good. The bottom edges on this thing have been smoothed out a little bit, so it's a very comfortable bracelet. You have brushing on the tops of the lugs, except for these little slivers here. And you can see, I'm going to just bring in the extra spare links here. So we're going to flip this over. You can see the outer links here are actual separate pieces. This little piece here is a separate piece. The inner links, it's just integrated in with a little groove there. So those are the inner polished surfaces there are not separate parts. Not a big deal, just thought I'd mention it. Had no problem sizing this thing. But I do think the finishing on the bracelet is pretty good. You can see fairly linear brushing on all the links there. Looks really good. The polishing obviously isn't the greatest on the bracelet. You don't expect it to, but the polished surface is so small that you never notice it. You do have polishing on the sides of the links here, polishing on the side of the clasp here. We'll talk about the clasp. So you got a fold over clasp here with a Pagani shield, which is nice to see. Double pushers. It's just a pressed outer shell, but that keeps it nice and low profile. You have 3 micro adjust here, no diver's extension, fully milled inners. Yeah, this is actually probably my favorite clasp from Pagani. Yeah, I really like it. Yeah, I hope to see this on more Paganis because it's actually pretty nice. There's no sharp edges on it or anything like that. All the bottoms, all these corners here are all, you know, really rounded off nicely. They did a good job on it. And I mean, the finishing on the clasp is good too. Yeah, nice linear brushing everywhere, and pretty decent polishing here. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. It's not a jangly, rattly bracelet like we saw on the on the Black Bay 36 that they recently put out. When it's on your wrist, it is pretty quiet. You do get a couple links that hang up on each other. I'm gonna see if I can show it to you. Like, yeah, kind of right there. You see that they do get hung up on each other a little bit, but it's not something that affects the watch while it's on your wrist at all. It's just something that I did notice throughout using it for the last couple days. So overall, though, I'm actually pretty happy with the bracelet. They didn't, I'll say they didn't screw anything up on it. Yeah, it's been very comfortable, easy to size, all the right specs, and yeah, I think it looks pretty good. And I do really like that new clasp. So there you go, guys. That is the Pagani design PD1717, the new Longines Spirit homage. And I think they did a really good job on it. Version 2 is going to be coming out pretty soon, and that's going to make this thing almost perfect. I'm really tempted to pick up the green dial on that one or the white dial. I think that they both look really good. But I'm pretty happy with this watch. It's a nice one, guys. So if you are interested in this, go check out my affiliate link down below. Like I mentioned earlier, that code Escape Wheel, $15 off, and then any other coupons you can add, go for it. Get this thing down to a pretty reasonable price, and yeah, you're going to be happy with it. I think it's a really good watch, perfect size, good specs, all that fun stuff. So yeah, really nice to see that they're actually starting to listen to us. You know, if they would hear us about the inner reflective coating and better lume, I think we'd all be pretty happy with it. So let's see what happens in the near future. I know they're coming out with some more watches pretty soon, and I think you guys are going to like them. I've seen some of them, and they do look pretty good. So if you want to see some more pictures of this thing, check out my Instagram. That's also a good spot to see what's coming up on the channel. It's usually where I post stuff first. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you guys over there. If you guys have any questions or comments, drop them down below. I'll be sure to get back to you guys and let you know. And yeah, let me know what you guys think. You like it? Are you going to get this once they fix it with the version 2? But I think that's about it. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one. See ya.